Hey friends, Mindy here. I have a little process video for you today. I'm going to be working on card 11 of the full deck challenge. This is a challenge that's hosted by Shauna at, I believe it's Shanuki Art. I will try to put her link down in the description if you're interested. She also has a Facebook group for the full deck challenge, and she randomly periodically does she'll put out a new card with a new set of prompts, and I'm very far behind. This is a project I started quite a while ago. It's just kind of been sitting on my desk. I just have not had time to get caught up, so I'm working on doing that. I have a bunch of projects I'm trying to get finished or caught up in the month of June, so this is one of those. So I just keep this on my desk. I have the cards that I have finished, and the cards that I'm going to be working on in this little box. I will say this box was made by my friend Bobbi at Precious Memory Boxes on Etsy. I'll try to remember to link her Etsy shop down below too. She has several different styles. This one is a divided box, and so it works really well for this, and just have it sitting on my desk. Anyway, that's just kind of a side note, but the prompts for this card are coffee, paper rolls, hearts, and buttons. So I am going to put you on fast forward, and I'm just going to work through this card and see where it ends up. I don't really have any idea at the moment how this is going to turn out, but I do want to work on getting these cards caught up because I'm a little bit behind. Not that that matters, because you can finish it whenever you want to, but anyway, I'm going to put you on fast forward and get started. So the first thing that I'm going to do here is work on the background of this card. I want to make it so that it's easier for paint and stuff to stick to it. You could certainly cover it in gesso if you wanted to. What I'm going to be doing is actually just adding a little bit of tissue paper. This is like what you would use in a gift wrap or whatever. You could use just regular tissue. This just happens to have a little striped design on it. It gets lost in the background anyway, so you can't really see it, but it does give a little bit of tooth to the card. You could also sand it down if you didn't want to have to add something like this. I will be using gel medium to do this. I'm trying to use up this gel medium because it's starting to dry out, so it's kind of thick. So I'm just layering this down on the card first. Then I'm adding the tissue over the top of that, and then adding another layer of this gel medium over the top. And then I'm going to set that off to the side to dry while I work on creating the paper rolls. So what I'm doing is these pages are actually from a magazine that I used Citrusolve on. It's a National Geographic magazine. I have some videos about that process, but it kind of distorts the images, and then you just end up with these really interesting background papers. So that is what I'm going to be making my paper rolls out of, because they're going to be strong enough when they're rolled that it's not going to collapse. And then it also it's a thin enough, because it's magazine paper, that it's not going to be super bulky. So you could, roll any kind of paper that you wanted to, certainly, but this is just what came to mind when I saw the prompt for paper rolls. So I'm just rolling them around like a little popsicle stick here, like for cake pops that you can buy. And I'm just rolling that around and then gluing the edge of it to keep it in place. And then after I have made all of those paper rolls, I'm going to go around and trim off the excess off of my card here. I did have to dry that with my heat tool. And then I want to kind of cover and mute down this background. So I am using some Dina Wakley acrylic paint. This is in the color Sand. I just felt like this would go well with kind of some of the natural colors in those paper rolls, and you can see I'm kind of holding it up there just to make sure that it's going to be okay. There's some texture and stuff that happens because of the way that the tissue dried, which is exactly what I want. So I'm also using these are the Ken Oliver Color Burst watercolors. These are highly pigmented powders, watercolor powders. So you just dab on just a tiny bit of this powder and add water, and it just creates these really fun effects. I'm using, I think the color was Wisteria, and then I added some turquoise. These are always kind of purple and teal are kind of always my go-to colors. So you can see how intense these colors are when you add water. So I'm actually going to pick up some of this color on some of these tags that I have just off to the side here, just because I don't want any of that watercolor to go to waste, but I certainly don't want that really super intense color. So I'm just gonna, I got that kind of looking how I wanted it, and I'm just gonna set that off to the side. And when I was doing all of this, I totally forgot that I needed to use coffee. So what I have decided to do, I keep some coffee in a little spray bottle, so I can like coffee dye things easy. And then, so I'm just going to spray this in a couple little places here and let this coffee kind of interact with the watercolor that's on there, those color burst colors. And it's just going to give it another kind of dimension. You won't be able to really see that it's like coffee dyed or whatever, but it's on there. So now I'm just kind of going to arrange these little paper rolls in different lengths and stuff. So I have the kind of the point up at the top, and then I'll cut it flush across the bottom. But I just wanted to decide kind of if I wanted 3 or if I wanted more. I wasn't really sure how I wanted to do that. So I'm going to start with 3, and then I'm using this is Helmar 450 quick dry glue. It's a really strong adhesive. I'm just holding those down for a second, and then I'm going to trim these off, like I said, flush at the bottom of the card, because my card is going to sit in that little box, so I need it to be flat across the bottom. And then I'm going to use the leftover pieces and add a couple more layers. So I end up with, I think, 5 paper rolls here, again using that same glue just because it's nice and strong. And then I will move on. I have these vintage buttons that I wanted to use. This one I think came from my A House of Books subscription, but I wanted to use this one. It's I really liked the shape and the color of it. So, but the other prompt was a heart. So I'm going to cut out a heart from some corrugated cardboard. This is just like, a box that was a mailing box, and I just cut out a little section of it, and then I'm freehanded a heart. I just wanted to make sure that the button would fit inside of it, and now I'm just peeling off that first layer of the cardboard. And I also thought this would kind of be a good nod to the whole paper roll thing because of the way that the corrugated cardboard looks on the inside, and it's just going to give another dimension and layer of interest here. And I thought about just putting it down plain, but I really didn't want it to kind of stand out that much. So I'm going to go back to that sand color acrylic paint, and I'm just applying a little bit on the raised parts with my finger, just to kind of bring some of the background color up into my focal image. So I'm going to set that aside. I'm also going to add a little bit of my coffee spray to that to kind of really deepen the cardboard color. And then I'm going to go back in with those same color burst sprays, and I'm just using an acrylic block here. I added, just a granule of that color, of that powder, and then I put some water with it. I'm using a paintbrush, and I'm going to kind of apply this down in the ridges of the of this little heart. And then I'm also going to use some of the purple, and then I mixed it with that turquoise color and it just makes this really beautiful blue. And I'm really just trying to mimic some of the colors that are in the background of this card. So just adding just a tiny bit more of that purple color and mixing it till I get kind of the color that I'm looking for from the background. In the papers themselves, it's kind of hard to tell on camera, but there are some of these purples and blues kind of in those paper rolls as well. So I just wanted everything to sort of coordinate. And then I'm going to let that dry. I actually used my heat tool on that to dry it. And I want to add a little bit of something else in here. So I have taken some thread. This is some black thread. And I just pulled off a bunch of it off of a spool. And then I'm just kind of winding it up in my hand to create like a little nest to go underneath the button. So I am going to glue this kind of in layers. So I'm starting with gluing down the heart, and I'm applying a lot of glue here because I need it to kind of seep down in between some of those paper rolls also, and I just want to make sure it's going to be stuck there for a while. So again, I'm using that Helmar 450 because it's just a really strong adhesive. And then I applied kind of a dollop of that in the center of the heart and pushed the thread in there, and then I'm going to add some more of this to the back of the button, and then I will put that in the middle of that little nest of fiber there, or thread. and I felt like it needed a little bit of something to kind of pull everything together. So I am using a little bit of black gesso. This is Dina Wakley gesso. Added some water to create these little splatters. I'm keeping them mostly to the left side, but they do come up onto the paper rolls as well, just to try to tie everything together. But I just wanted some more contrast. So now I'm going to do that same thing with some white gesso. And the white gesso is not going to stay like super, super white because it's going to pick up some of that, that watercolor, but it's enough of a contrast that, at least for me, you could certainly go back over that with, white Posca or pen or whatever, but I just wanted something that would kind of tie all of the card together. I'm going to give you a little bit of a close-up here so you can kind of see how my card turned out. If you like this video, I would appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and until next time, bye.